Hi, this is Wren here at 7 Cups Fine Chinese Teas, and today I want to brew our 2020 Lan Xiang or Magnolia scent Dansheng Wulong 3 different ways: boiling, in a glass, and Gong Fu style. So normally for the Yixing pot and for boiling I would use a bit more tea than usual, but today for consistency I'm just going to be using about 5 grams for everything. It's pretty common to use about anywhere from 8 to 10 grams, even more if you're feeling especially wild for Yixing pot. And for boiling, depends on how much water you have, depends on the size of the vessel. But since boiling is going to take the longest out of these methods, we're going to go ahead and top this one up and get this started first. I have 5 grams for each of the teas, so I'm not going to fill this thing up all the way, maybe just past halfway. I'm going to take this and boil it. Alright, so I actually don't have a stove to boil this kettle on, so I'm just going to use the rice cooker right here. Which might be a little bit overkill, but it works. And we're going to set a timer for, let's see, I'm going to set it to 20 minutes. And we'll get back to this. Alright, so our tea's been boiling for about 10 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and start the next one. This is something you can do with just a regular pint glass, almost a good heat resistant glass. But I do not have one with me today, so I'm just going to use this jar. I also measured out how much water was used for the boiling, and I think it's about a liter, maybe a little bit less. I'm going to set this aside and give it another couple of minutes, then we'll start our Gong Fu. Alright, so we're back to the rice cooker. It's been about 14 minutes or so. I just want to give it a quick check. Looks like it's boiling down a lot faster just because of the high surface area for this one, so I'm gonna go ahead and call that right now and pour that out. It's definitely not the most elegant way to do it, but you know, there's always a way to make it work. Alright, so now we just have the Gong Fu infusion left. I'll let that kick back for about a minute, maybe a touch less. Alright, and that's our third infusion. So we've got our 3 infusions here, and first thing that I noticed is that the boiled one is always pretty murky. So the colors, first of all, it's noticeably a lot darker than the other 2, not just stronger, but actually darker. And it has like this really cloudiness to it that you get from boiling tea. The leaves also are paler and they're getting a little fragile with all the boiling. The second one that we brewed in a cup, that was also just boiling water in there. A little less amount of tea than we had in here, so this one's been boiled down quite a bit. It's still clear, but it's a little murkier than the Gong Fu brew. At least to me, I see like less of the fine dust drifting around. And the color is just a touch lighter actually, so I think the cup brewing is the lightest of all of them. It also has the most water compared to tea leaf for the other two teas. So that was 3 ways to brew the same tea, but the real question is, how do they actually taste? I've never really compared these 3 different methods before. They're all ways that I enjoy brewing my oolong tea. So today we're going to use this opportunity and try them all side by side. Now the cup brewing is just a touch lighter than the Gong brewing, so I'm actually going to start with that one first. It's definitely a very light infusion. You get a lot of the buttery notes out of this tea, none of the astringency, but you also don't get a lot of the floral qualities out of this tea, so it's really light, it's really gentle. That way of brewing tea, I would usually use a bit more tea, like I said at the beginning of this video, but it's always going to be on the lighter side just because of how it's brewed. It's a great way to have tea just throughout your day. You just keep topping it up. You're not really looking to examine the tea too deeply. You're just trying to enjoy a nice cup of tea. Got a lot more richness out of the Gong brewing. It's the first infusion. It was about a minute, so it's still comparatively light. The buttery flavor is a lot richer, and you start getting into some of the woody textures of the tea. Gong brewing is going to be the most time-consuming out of these 3 methods. Gong brewing is something that I do if I want to just like really sit down with this tea, really get an idea of what the character of this tea is. So you do multiple infusions. Every infusion is going to be a little bit different. Next infusion on this is going to be a touch stronger, I think. So with the boiling one, this is the only one that has any astringency to it. It's really light, and to me it's very pleasant, but it has a dry, almost like grippy quality on the tongue. With boiling, I'm getting a lot of roasty notes that are different than like the woodiness to it. So it's, I don't want to say coffee-ish, but you have like that sort of nutty roasted bean flavor. This one feels like it has the most depth out of them, at least at this time. Keep in mind the Gong is still on its first infusion, but you get like more of that, like not earthy exactly, but roasty, almost charcoaly texture. It starts coming out like that toasted black bean flavor. That's something that I notice a lot with boiling oolong teas in particular, especially rock oolong. And that's kind of a set it and forget it thing you can do. If you have one of those stoves that have a candle or an alcohol burner, that's a great way to just leave it on during the winter. Keep your house nice and warm, a little bit more humid too as well. The boiling one feels like it really goes through my whole body. So out of these 3 methods, boiling definitely tasted the most distinct from the other 2. Gong you got more into the character of the tea, but boiling really stands out apart from the other 2 methods. And it's something you can try with a lot of different teas. Some works better than others. I've been surprised to find it works really well with our Golden Peacock black tea as well as our Ultra Yunnan. So definitely not just a oolong thing or not just a pu'er thing. It's most commonly seen for pu'er, but it always brings out a character that you don't see by just infusing the tea leaves. The boiling really gets out the flavors that you would not otherwise get out. So I definitely encourage you to try if you haven't done so before. If you have like a vacuum thermos, insulated flask, that's a way to get a very similar flavor out of that, just because it keeps the temperature as high as possible. Let's take a final look at these teas. A nice thing about porcelain cups, like white porcelain, is that you get to see the color of the tea really well. So here we have 3 teas against that white porcelain backdrop. This one's the boiled one. And over here we have our cup brewing. And over here we have our Gong brewing first infusion. And one thing to keep in mind is not just the difference in taste, but it's a very big difference in mood and how you want to approach your tea. So Gong it's going to be if you want to sit down, you have some time to set aside to really examine this tea. Cup brewing is really casual, just something you can have in your hand throughout the day. And boiling, something you set it forget it. It's really nice and cozy, great for cooler weather. So that was 3 different ways to brew the same tea, and as you can tell, boiling's been on my mind quite a bit recently. So if you do decide to give it a shot and you find some surprise hits or something that's just awful, please let us know. I found that for me at least, green tea tastes really weird boiled. Even just infusing with boiling water, some more delicate greens taste almost like overcooked veggies to me. Some of them don't, some of them do. It's definitely a really experimental process, so give it a shot and let us know what you think.